I'm a rapper. I remember the Ready to Die album leak, like the what was like 8 joints or something like that that had leaked before the album come out. But I want to meet Biggie Smalls.
What we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party.
How you doing, party people? This is Talib Kweli, the BKMC, the MCEO. You are checking out the People's Party. We are going to have a good time on this episode. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about the culture. We're going to talk about a little bit of politics. And this episode is very special to me because, one, not only do we have Jasmine Lee with us, but, you know, we have somebody who needs no introduction, but I'm going to attempt to introduce him anyway. He is a friend of mine. I consider him a mentor. He is an elder statesman. He is a curator of the culture. He is an underground king. He is the trillest of the OGs. He is the Trill OG. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's Party welcomes Bun B. Yeah. Like that? Word up. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to come out. You like the James Brown dude with the
I
kid?
love it.
You know what I'm saying? I got this, Bun. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Congratulations.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. I like LA. My wife loves LA.
Shout out to Queenie.
I'm more of a New York person.
Me too.
But LA got the good weed. How you doing, Jay? But LA just got the really good weed and
Yeah.
the really good weather.
Yeah.
And there's no bugs. Right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think LA gets enough credit for that.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the South, so it's all
Yeah, if
it's
you outside
bugs.
and it's hot, there's
It's
bugs.
mosquitoes all
Yeah.
day. But that's why we love to come to LA because we get a room with a balcony. We can just leave the doors open. You know what I'm saying? And get that cool LA breeze coming through at night. Smoke some good tree and just relax.
The first time I ever smoked weed on the internet was on Snoop Dogg's GGN.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like, go ahead and hit this blunt, Kweli. And I'm like, nah, my kids are fans. They might look at this and they might watch you. He was like, your kids smoke weed anyway, Kweli. Go ahead and hit the blunt.
You probably do at this point.
My
Which
kids
is-
are adults, by the way, for anybody who's listening. Bad parenting is not what we condone here at the People's Party.
But that could be. I mean, if that's the worst thing your kids are doing, I think you're a pretty good dad.
It's always coke.
I think if that's the worst thing your kids are doing is smoking weed,
Yeah, you said they could be on coke or
yeah,
heroin?
coke or heroin. Or
could be
both.
pilled out. There's a lot of wild options.
Well, you
They
know, I
could be
gotta be-
alcoholics. They could be a
That's
lot
true.
of things.
It's my job to be the steward, to be the mentor, to be their guiding force. I don't know if you noticed, but I consider you, there you go, a mentor for me in this business.
Oof, that really? Yeah, I heard you say that in the intro.
Yeah.
Really?
I absolutely consider you a mentor because we've been friends for a long time. Bro.
Yeah, but I feel like you were doing pretty good when I met you already, though.
Yeah, I was doing all right. But, you know, longevity is a different thing.
That's true.
We met maybe, 10, 15 years ago?
At least.
And, you know, the moves that you've made have been hugely inspirational to me. A lot of people look, I called you an elder statesman. Down south, Texas, but down south, a lot of people in the culture don't know about old school down south or Texas artists. Who was you listening to hip hop wise growing up?
In Texas,
Yeah.
specifically,
Texas. Let's start with Texas.
definitely in Houston, K Reno. K Reno is the OG of all Houston like lyricists, like rappers. Like he is still the greatest metaphor conjurer I've ever seen in my life. He's still very active as a writer, even to this day, and he's been independent the entire time. So, you know, he was inspiring me on many different levels. You know what I'm saying? As a businessman, as a writer, and his longevity is long. You know, I've been here since '92, and he was here as he was seasoned when I got here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he's still rapping, and that's the funny thing because I hear people all the time. I remember when Too Short used to always talk about he was retiring.
Right.
And different people talk about they're retiring. And I always look at Cube, and I'm like, if Cube is working, I have to keep working. If Face is working, then I have to keep working because I can't get lazy when the OGs, to me, are still active.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And aggressively putting out music, putting out content, inspiring, you know what I'm saying? Living life on a full level, you know what I'm saying? And that's what really inspires me now. People who have a great home life, have a great family life, but still every now and then want to come back and contribute to the culture in their own way. You know what I'm saying? I think Cube is a great example of that. And you look at all the different business ventures that Cube has been able to get himself into, and he still comes back.
Favorite rapper back in the day.
And he's still he's still going hard now.
He got to get with Houston cats to put out some records.
I'm with that.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's good to see, people from that era still active, you know what I'm saying, and still doing work that inspires, you know what I'm saying? So as long as I see people like that still out there getting it, I feel obligated, right? I can't quit until at least they quit, right?
Right. Well, you started in 92. You got 5 mics in the Source in 2010.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So that's albums deep into your career.
And I feel it's kind of like, it was one of those situations how they gave Denzel the Oscar for Training Day because they knew they didn't give it to him for his best work. I kind of feel like
that was TRILL OG though?
Yeah, that was TRILL OG.
That's a great album, bro.
Which is a good look. I'm not gonna knock my work.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna knock my work.
But I get what you're saying.
But
the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Absolutely, and I take it. You know what I'm saying? Source, still represents a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? Well, it did at the time. You know what I'm saying? It still represents a lot to the culture now at this time, and I was happy to be a part of that. That's a very distinct group of MCs that carry that accolade.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's one of those things when I came in, I was like, because I never thought about Grammys, I never thought about BET Awards or any of that stuff, but 5 mics in the Source was something that you kind of wanted to aspire to.
Absolutely.
And Verse of the Month, true. Now, Verse of the Month to me probably would have been worth a little more.
I got Verse of the Month.
Of course you did.
Once. I got for the proud. I got Verse of the Month. I never got a 5 mic album, but I did get a verse.
You want to trade? I'll trade you.
Shit, let's trade. Here. So, well, let's talk about verses. I was going to talk about something else, but which album was Murder on?
Murder was on Riding Dirty.
On Riding Dirty. That's 3 albums in.
Yes.
That verse by you on that is my favorite Bun B verse.
Mine too.
That's your favorite? So you know it?
Yeah. No, I know what that verse is, right?
Right.
That is the song lyrically that set me apart from every one of my contemporaries in the South and kind of set the tone for how people who didn't know me at that point would be introduced to me. This was the record that Pimp always wanted to make for me because everything that UGK did was kind of slow and laid back. A lot of the music we did was slow, and I always was a very aggressive MC, and so I always wanted those faster songs, and I never could get one from him. And he was like, "Yo, we're gonna give you a song where you can just go off," because I'm like, "Cause you're the main one bragging how good I can rap, but you won't give me something over 80 BPM so I can rap." Oh, please go. I apologize.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I'll bring it over there. Okay, keep going.
I'll hit the pen. And so, but yeah, no, I realized once it was done, like not when I wrote it, not when I laid it, but when the whole song was done, and I realized that nobody really from my region had ever attacked a verse lyrically like that. And I knew that from that moment on, every rhyme was going to be different, right? Everything was going to be different. And it took a lot to get to that level. I found myself amidst a bunch of different MCs that helped me build my skills up. I was around this kid named Rick Royal. Rick Royal was from a group called the Royal Flush. One of the greatest pensmen I've ever seen in hip hop. And he was a guy that I was around and just was lyrically just on a whole other level in terms of transcribing life into lyrics. And there's a distinct difference if you look at my lyrical ability from Southern Way to Too Hard to Swallow to Super Tight to Riding Dirty. And that was because of the people that I was around and the level of rapping that those people were doing. It was him, it was his cat Smith D, the Middle Finger. That's why I met the Middle Fingers around the cat Rick. And so just a bunch of different MCs really attacking lyricism and storytelling on a different level. And I was really intrigued about how, especially Rick, how he was able to construct songs. And I was like, okay, there's a little bit more technical effort that I could be putting towards this that I'm not really taking full advantage of. And so pretty much after those days, and that's kind of like where on Super Tight, there's a song called 316s, which is kind of the beginning of me taking my lyricism a little bit more serious. And Murder becomes that verse where everything starts to really fall into place, and I understand exactly how I'm supposed to be rapping.
Right.
And how I'm engaged in the English language. Right. And that it's not going to be like anybody else's style of MCing. And and that is going to always set me apart from other people. And that's when I really realized I was nice.
Right.
Like, I'm like, okay, you're actually really good with this. I was always better than the people around me, but I wasn't necessarily in, a group of heavyweight MCs.
Yeah, yeah.
And by that time, we were on a major label. We were getting the distribution that we wanted. And this was the first album where we had full creative control. So whatever the message was that we were going to send from this album, this one was all on us. And to this day, that's still the best received album that we've ever put out.
That's really my introduction to y'all. Riding Dirty is my introduction to y'all. I was reading up, like, you weren't an original member of UGK?
No. The original UGK was Pimp and this cat, Mitchell Queen. Mm-hmm. And so they had the actual name UGK first.
Right.
And then I was in another group with this cat, Jalon Jackson. We were in a group called the PA Militia, and then we all got together and formed a 4-man group. But then the other 2 cats decided they wanted to do other things, so it was just me and Pimp. And UGK was one of the names that we were working with, but when we ended up getting signed, and the dude was like, what do y'all call? Because we had the song, we didn't have a real, name. It was like, well, one of the names we were using is like UGK, Underground Kings. He's like, that's perfect.
That's perfect.
So
that's around Southern Way time.
Yeah.
That's the album
definitely.
that got y'all the deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like recorded in early '91, released in February '92, and thank you. And we were signed by May. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy because we dropped the same week that the Crisscross album dropped.
The bomb.
Yeah. But we outsold them in Texas and Louisiana, so that's how we started getting people's attention. Like, who is this group that we never heard of that's outselling these artists and wholesalers and one-stops and mom and pops and stuff like that.
Yeah, Crisscross was a huge...
No, this was a huge group.
Yeah, they were
like,
huge.
Period. Like,
yeah.
It was a big deal. They had a big machine behind them, you know what I'm saying? And but we were just in the right place at the right time and got momentum and, had a little bidding war over a weekend. And then, we ended up with Jive Records, and I guess the rest is history.
Right. So from then you went to Too Hard to Swallow.
Yes.
Super Tight.
Yeah.
Riding Dirty. Pocket Full of Stones comes out.
Yeah.
That song kind of took over, right?
Yeah, so Pocket Full of Stones was its own different kind of beast as far as a hood record when we first kind of put it out. But then when Jive got the contract to do the soundtrack for Menace to Society, they reached out to us, and it was ill because they sent me like the script, which the script had a different ending than what the movie had.
What can you tell us the secret ending to Menace to Society?
I want to say, because I don't want to lie on it, but I feel like Kane wasn't supposed to die, something like that. And I think they wrote it like that and intentionally shot it different because they felt if they would have put Kane dying in the script that they wouldn't have went for it.
Right.
So I think they wrote it where Kane lived and everything kind of ended happy ever after it, but they shot it differently. But I had like three pieces of the movie. So we had the crib in PA, and they sent us this package, and we put in a videotape, and it's the scene in the store, it's the scene in the alleyway where he shoot the dude over the burger, and it's like him and Jada Pinkett in the crib.
That must have fucked you up when you
we were bugging like,
right.
Yo, what is this
movie
finna be?
I saw that in the movie theater, it fucked me up in the theater. So I must have just at the crib having the advance.
And I'm like, okay, so when does this happen? And I'm trying to look through the script and see where it happens in the movie and what's going on. I'm like, yo, this movie finna be wild. This movie finna be wild. But then when I saw it and he died, I was like, yo, this is crazy.
I made my mom sit down and watch that movie. Because my mom wasn't watching movies like that had a lot of cursing and violence in it. I'm like, no, this is one you have to see. You get past the cursing, get past the violence, you got to see what they did with this film.
Yeah, that and Boys in the Hood were movies where, people that necessarily didn't have an eye into that world and that lifestyle, it gave them a lot of real education about how people were living outside of where they were from, if you weren't from the L.A.
Right.
Because I knew a couple of guys from L.A. early in my life, so I was, they kind of talked to me about how the streets were structured and how everything worked. So when these different movies come out, I'm like, I have a frame of reference to explain it to people. It was crazy because I met a 60 and 5%er like the same summer. Like those were my two best friends that summer, And
Best of both worlds. Huh?
yeah, so it opened me up totally to everything that was on the West Coast. So I understood West Coast hip hop better, and then everything that was really going on the East Coast and the different terminologies. So you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Jay and shout out to Shakim. I still talk to Shakim to this day.
Speaking of some gangster shit, you have a coloring book
Yeah,
that I sell at my bookstore with Shay Serrano.
Shay's the man.
Shay
right?
is the man. Shay got a lot of beautiful things going on. He has a lot of books, a lot of situations.
Yes.
But the Bun B coloring book, tell me about that.
All right, so Shay interviewed me a lot, you know what I'm saying? He lived in Houston and he was getting different writing assignments for different publications outside the city, and he would always interview me, and I was watching his Twitter, and I was like, yo, this is a very funny dude, and we have a very similar sense of humor. And so I reached out, I was like, yo, we should do something about hip-hop together, but it should be funny or fun. Like, because hip-hop, everybody in hip-hop kind of takes themselves very seriously. You know, but I remember somebody saying like Bun, you and Snoop are in a really good place. He's like, y'all are kind of where Cube is now, to where you don't have to prove you're a gangster anymore, so you can do kind of anything and play in that space, and nobody's gonna be like, oh, he's a sucker or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so we talked about it, and originally we had talked about a book, and then at a certain point we were like, yo, the idea of a coloring book came up, and then Shay was like, no, a coloring and activity.
Yeah.
Book. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
That's how you get it.
That was the shit.
Right? So, and we pitched it to a couple of different publishing companies, and nobody got it. Nobody really got it. He's like, so Shay was like, let's do a Tumblr, and every week we'll drop a different thing on the Tumblr, and we'll get the word out through that. So eventually we ended up getting like 50,000 followers on Tumblr, and like a lot of, rotation, a lot of momentum behind the pictures and the coloring stuff. And so he pitched it again, and somebody bit, and they put it out. And I remember within like the first 3 days of it being out, we got a call from the New York Times. And the Times was like, okay, this could be the first time we've ever had a coloring book make the bestsellers list, but you have to sell X amount of coloring books. He's like, so I don't know what kind of momentum you got behind, what kind of machine you have, but here's what you have to do. And it was just really hard to line up the ducks, because it started going a lot further than we ever thought it was going to go. It ended up in Nordstrom's, like in the special Christmas section, started getting on a lot of people's top 20 Christmas to have lists. And I thought it was a great moment for him, because he's such a great talent. He's such a brilliant mind. He drew all the pictures, right? Came up with all the ideas. I think the most brilliant thing he did was he did Wudoku. So Sudoku with the 9 members of the Wu-Tang Clan. Right. That's just genius, right?
Yeah.
And it's brilliant because it lives forever, because it's just like Sudoku. You can come up with, tens of thousands of permeations of putting that together.
Shout out to Shay Serrano.
I could talk about Shay all day. Shay was a coach for middle school at the same time all of this was going on. Such a great spirit, man. And he loves his kids too.
There's a lot of people like that in hip hop. That's really the core of hip hop. I mean, you a family man, Bun. You a grandfather.
Man, about to be 5 times over.
5 times over.
Yeah, could be any day now.
That's beautiful.
I'm having a 5th kid. It's amazing, man.
Hip hop is a family business at this point.
Well, I never saw myself getting this far musically, and I never saw myself getting this far in life, right? Because as soon as I started to figure out what dating was and like wanting to have a long-term girlfriend, I ended up in this entirely different world, and it just pulled me away from everything. So I started rejecting relationships and commitments and all that type of stuff, especially anything long-term, because of the lifestyle that I was living. And it wasn't until I met Queen that I was like, look, if I'm going to be with one person, this is the one person I want to be with.
And this is how you do it.
Yeah. Then, and there was a lot of growing up I had to do, because Queen had kids, you know what I'm saying? So I had to, I'm not just a boyfriend, you know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of things to adjust with having a young girl growing up in the house. But I think we did a good job, man. Our kids are great. The grandkids are great. Everybody's healthy. We're blessed over here.
That's beautiful, bro.
And it's a good transition, too, It's a good transition in life to, like now we make music kind of because we want to, not because we have to, right? It's no big contractual obligations that force me to have to go and make music and punch the card, so to speak. So, I'm not phoning it in or whatever. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm finding different ways to make the process enjoyable. I get to work with friends now. Like the first album we did, Return of the Trill, we did with Crit. You know, Crit's a
Right.
good friend. So we did pretty much all of it with Crit. The second album we just did Trill Static, you know what I'm saying? Me and Static. Good friends, you know what I'm saying? You were a part of that.
Great album.
You're always around if we need you.
Hove
man.
called in,
That was crazy,
right?
right?
Fat Joe came from the crib because he seen it on live stream.
It was fun because we didn't expect anything out of it. We just wanted to see if we could like actually make it happen. It was really more of a passion project and just an exercise in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I painted myself in the corner now because everybody's gonna want that album in a day.
Yeah, I have a Instagram clip that I didn't post yet. I might just put it in my documentary of the moment when everybody listened to Fat Joe for the first time, and it was just you and him vibing, and the hook came on, and he starts doing this dance.
Yo,
That's
You
a
know what I'm saying?
classic.
Joe is a very, very ill dude too,
Yeah, man.
like in hip
Shout out to
hop.
Fat Joe.
In the culture. He's a very
Yeah,
ill
man.
dude.
I say that if you want to get to the root of what hip hop is, you can't get closer to the root than like a Puerto Rican gangster dude who used to be digging in the crates from the Bronx.
That's crazy.
Like that's the most hip hop shit ever.
And that's what I was in the moment. I was like, okay, this was the DITC Fat Joe.
Yeah, that was
Right.
that
You
record
know?
feel like DITC.
It really does. And you know, we didn't think that was in the moment when we were playing beats. We didn't think because Joe came in, and so there was no music that was attributed to him. Like there was no like, okay, Joe's gonna rap on this song or whatever. So we're playing him different songs, and based on a lot of the music that Joe's known for right
Yeah.
now, we thought he would bite on something that was a little bit more commercial,
Yeah,
or
he
something like that.
He does hit records very well.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But when he heard that track, he was like, yo, that's the one right there. That's the one I want to rap to. And I was like, okay, we're finna, he picked this beat. We're finna get digging in the crates, Fat Joe.
Yeah.
This is a very, very unique verse we're about to get. You don't get that all the time.
That's
Most
right.
people are trying to get, radio pop hit, Fat
But
Joe.
he knew that he had to give you that verse. That's why he drove over there. That's why he was in the crib like, yo, that's the vibe right there.
And that's what hip hop is really all about. When you create an environment where MCs just want to rap, right?
Yeah.
That's what we really wanted to do at the end of the day. You can invite people over to rap, but you got to create an environment that's conducive to it, right? You got to put the right people in the room that can be around each other and build off of each other. A lot of people didn't necessarily know each other well, but they knew each other well enough.
Right.
Right,
I
and
just ran into Smoke Dizza a week before that in LA.
right, and I just saw him like 2 weeks before Johnny Spot. You know what I'm saying? So, and even people like, Meth, who I'm just now really getting to build a relationship with, but Meth was like one of the first people I called.
That's a good
you know what I'm
dude.
saying? And he was like, yo, I'm with it. And I never asked Meth for a verse or anything
Right.
before. And he was like, I'm with it. And the funny thing was he came a day early because he thought it was the day before, so he called me
Yeah,
the day
that's a
before.
good dude, man.
And he was like, yo, I'm outside, Bun. What button to push? I'm like, yo, I'm in Houston. We ain't even
Right.
I ain't even there yet.
Right. You and me, we got that's how many records we got together?
At least 4, right?
Yeah, so we got one with K Salam.
Right.
And we just did this one with Static.
We got
Strangers with High Tech.
we have
And we have
Country Cousins.
Country Cousins. And
we have Real Women.
Real Women.
That's 5 records.
Five
now.
records we got together. So we got a mini EP.
Right.
You know what I'm
We
saying?
should just
Go
do
ahead,
one.
drop a
Yeah,
collab.
we should. Something else we got in common is we both smoked with Biggie.
This is true.
I would like to hear your, because I heard about that you smoked with Biggie, but I ain't
Yes.
never heard the story.
Okay, so we were on promo. This
Mm-hmm.
is our first promo run. And we're at the BMG offices in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, Chaka Zulu is
Shout out to Shaka Zulu.
like one of the guys. I think he might have still been an intern
Or a radio
at this point,
guy, right?
right? But he was the guy riding us around, driving us around. So we go to the BMG offices, and the big deal about the BMG situation was the fact that Craig Mack had just went gold. So Flavor in Your Ear had just went gold. Juicy was still, I think, at like 460, 465, something like that. So everybody in the room is making a very big deal about Craig Mack. I'm a rapper. I remember the Ready to Die album leak, like what was like 8 joints or something like that that had leaked before the album come out. But I want to meet Biggie Smalls. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we see him over at the table, kind of off to the side, away from everything. We go over and like, yo, Bun B, this my brother Pimp C with UGK. He was like, I don't know who y'all are. I'm like, word. He's like, yeah, the Pocket Full of Stones joint. He's like, from Menace. He was like, I
He
used
was
to ride
tuned
that
in.
all the time. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
why he had all, like Houston metaphors in his raps.
So he was like, man, I fuck with y'all. I was like, yo, we fuck with you. I was like, yo, we finna go outside and smoke if you want to smoke. And he was like, yeah, cool. I'll come. I'll smoke. So we go out to the car, and he's a big dude. So, you know, Pimp was in the driver's seat. I'm in the passenger seat. So I offered him the front passenger seat. He was like, no, I'm going to chill in the back. I'm like, yo, it's a lot more room in the front.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm good. I'm going to sit in the back.
Right.
And so he got in the back seat, and he left the door open. And we were like, yo, close the door. We're going to hotbox. You know,
Right.
keep it smoking. He's like, nah, I got to keep the door open. I need, like, the air or whatever. It wasn't until later that I realized that he didn't want to sit in the front seat because he didn't want anybody sitting behind him. And he didn't want the door closed in case he needed to bounce because he didn't really know us like that. You know what I'm saying? It took me probably a couple of hours after the fact. I was like, that's why dude didn't want to sit in the front seat. And I had even more respect for him as a man outside of the music. I was like, okay, I see this cat moves in a real way out there. But we smoked and we chilled, and he was just a very, very good rapper. Right?
Yeah,
Like
one of
there's
the
a
best,
lot
one
of
of the most
people
natural.
a lot of people are gonna make rap music and rap songs, right? But a lot of us are not really gonna be that good, and only a few of us will ever be really, really great at it. And he's one of the few guys that were really, really great at it. And this is coming from a guy that's really, really good. Like I'm pretty good
Pretty
with
fucking
this,
good,
right?
man.
You know, I'm not gonna fuck
You're
around.
no slouch.
I'm pretty good, you know. But this dude was really, for dudes that write and know what it takes to put a rhyme together and piece words together and really manipulate the English language, you know that dude was different. Still different than anything that anybody was doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very organic.
And it would have been really interesting. And that's, I think, what people miss the most is that we didn't get to see the evolution of it, right? The growth, the maturity, right? Even though he was very mature for his age and very deep in his thoughts, but it would have been good to see, Biggie getting older, his kids get older, being married longer, and seeing more of the world, you know, having traveled all over the world. It would have been good to see Big's reflection on the life.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Your story is more interesting because you got like a real introduction. You know what I'm saying? Like I was working for Jessica Rosenblum in New York, party promoter. She used to manage John Forte. We used to hang out with like C-No from Diggable Planets.
Her name always comes up.
Yeah, Jessica was
always
official.
comes
Jessica
up.
was in the mix. She was doing parties with Puff. There was a party at the country club. Biggie and Tupac was rolling around together. And I remember it was John Forte's birthday party. Or it was a club they was doing, but it was John Forte's birthday. And so we were just smoking. And it was the type of thing where I was let behind the velvet rope for a second.
Right.
And I was just sitting in the booth. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, like not even old enough to get in the club at that point.
Right.
But that's my one memory of smoking with Big.
That's amazing that you guys got to smoke with Biggie.
I think it's pretty amazing, man. It's for me it's a New York privilege. You was coming to New York, so for me it was a proximity. Like I felt as a hip hop artist a great privilege growing up in New York, and I think New York has been,
yeah, for sure.
You know, we take that privilege for granted sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think the key thing that New York had as an advantage over everyone was the outlets.
Yeah.
Right. The record companies were based there.
Record companies and the
media
public
outlets, the media
transportation
outlets.
system.
Right.
Not just the
Go
record companies,
everywhere.
but that we could hop on a train and literally hop on a train and not pay for it, but hop on a train.
You shouldn't be promoting that. That is illegal activity.
you can't
and
do
we're
it
going
No,
to
but it
jail.
was very ill because
That's the only way we was able to do it.
if I had a problem with my record company, I had to literally get on a plane and fly like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And go to the office building and try to get upstairs and all this kind of stuff. But if your A&R was from Brooklyn, you could find him in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Look.
And that was the thing that I felt like. And then the other thing was if my A&R is from Brooklyn and he's got two artists on the table in one budget, he's probably going to pick the New York kid over the
the
Southern
kid
kid.
he's
Not
hanging out
not even because of talent
Save
though,
money.
right? I mean, not even because of proximity. I think they just didn't have the frame of reference for UGK. Like many A&Rs, you know what I'm saying, fell trying to A&R UGK project, right? Like we didn't need any help from a 32-year-old kid from the Bronx. Like, what are you gonna tell me about growing up in Port Arthur, Texas? What can you do? This kid makes all the beats. He makes all the music. We don't need any help. Just put me and Pimp in a room. We'll bring you the album back. Just keep everybody else out the room.
Right.
You know. But yeah, y'all. I mean, one of the things that I always say to people is proximity is key in life, right? And and I go through life more and more that it makes even more sense, right? Just being in the right place around the right people and having a line of communication or access to the right people in the right places, man, changes everything. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people with real, like, superior talent, right, who just could not, I don't know if you want to say schmooze or just did not know how to talk to people.
Right, the networking.
You know, they had
It's
no
a package,
networking
too.
skills.
You have to have both.
You have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, talent will get you in the room, but networking keeps you in the movement, right? So people come into hip hop, and Kweli, I know you've seen it like I do. People come into hip hop as an MC, like, I want to be a rapper, right? Okay,
You want to impress other rappers.
right? You know, but maybe your skill set is better built for management, right, or promotion, or marketing, or radio. And so people come into hip hop with, you know, a dream of being this, and the culture says, well, we've got that guy right now, right? Well, we could really use somebody right here, and
Right.
you know enough from being around certain things to handle this spot right here. Can you do that? And some people made those decisions, and they're great people now. Look at Andre Harrell; he's a legend,
Yeah.
because he wasn't scared to step away from the microphone.
Used to be Jekyll and Hyde.
go into other stuff. I always talk about KP, who was a DJ, and when L.A. Reid, you know, started, you know, LaFace Records, offered him a spot, like, come in on this side. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't scared to do it, and he was able to bring that back to the Dungeon family, and
Right.
now he's, you know, he just threw his first festival, right? So it's a skill set, and he still DJs too, right? Not saying that you can't
Right,
still
right,
DJ,
right.
but sometimes, you know, you're called to things that are greater than what you even think for yourself, and you can't be scared to take advantage of those opportunities.
Similar to you in a lot of respects, because you are not scared to be a professor.
Yeah.
You're not scared to go teach the babies.
Yeah, I mean, look, I tell people all the time, a lot of my opportunities come because Chameleonaire is busy, right? A lot of my opportunities come because, you know, it's kind of like Harrison Ford and Tom Selleck, right? Like, I got this move because Chameleonaire was busy. So Chameleonaire was asked to speak at a course on hip hop and religion at Rice University. He couldn't make it. He said, but I know who you might want to, if you're looking for somebody to talk about that kind of stuff, you should probably reach out to Bun B. So Professor Penn calls me and asks me if I'm interested. I'm like, sure. And I go up, and I'm kind of sitting in his office before I speak, and I look at the books on the shelf. I'm like, okay, I read that. This is interesting. Okay. And it's not just religious books. It's some hip hop books too. And I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. And so we speak in the course, and we talk for like an hour and a half, and it's just very, very fluid conversation. And after the course, he was like, you know, we could really use your input in this classroom. You know, we should talk about you coming in more. And a couple of months go by, and he actually asked me if I would like to co-teach the course with him at Rice University. And so this is more than just kind of popping in and giving up a little game, right? This is a very real commitment. Like, Rice University is the #1 university in Texas, number 15 university in the country. So I'm not just like teaching at your local community college. Like, this is a very prestigious university. And so my concern was not messing up his tenure, right? He's the most tenured professor of color on campus. So I don't want to come in with my street shit and everything that I've done, right, and fuck up his reputation on campus. But then, two, the other thing is, I don't want to misinform the youth, because these are some of the brightest minds in the country that come to this university. You know what I'm saying? Their parents spend a lot of money. It's a very, very big scholarship. If you're on scholarship, there's a lot of money involved on the line. And we would get kids who were religious students, not like, so, because people assume this is a music course.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a humanities course. It's a religious course.
I went and did it with you.
Yeah.
It
So
was Lupe and No Malice, and it wasn't a lot of music talk at all.
No. And so it's a different perspective on the culture, right? And the lived life within the culture, right? Like, not just what you do, but how it affects your life, how you have to adapt some of your life to it, how it has to adapt to your life. And, you know, what is the ebb and flow of this thing that we do? And it's beautiful to be able to have these young minds engaged on this, because a lot of these kids, they don't even listen to like urban radio.
Right.
So their curiosity isn't based on Lil Wayne or Drake or anything like that. They're like, what is this? Right? Because I hear some of it and it's positive and it's reaffirming, and then some of it, it's a lot of the N-word, and I just don't know what's going on. And so we have to basically put everything in its own historical perspective, right?
Yes.
We have to put the black experience in its historical perspective. So before we get to hip hop, we got to get through a lot of music, right? And a lot of culture. So we start at the Negro spirituals and work our way all the way up. And so from that perspective, they can see, okay, lifestyle influences. We're going through blues, we're going through jazz, we're going through soul music, lifestyle influences, all these different things. And this begat this begat that. Okay, so that's how we get to hip hop, right? Okay, so Caribbean influence, Jamaican, DJ type of thing. And so now we've got that. Okay, so here's the music, here's the Cross Bronx Expressway situation, right? This is how people get displaced, and that's how all these cultures get there, and this is the beginning, right? And it starts here. It's just a party, right? It's just a way to get away, right? But then we understand a deeper way of getting away and how to keep that momentum of learning to live through your experience collectively, right? Being unified based off of, yeah, we're at a party, but we're really all at a party because life is kind of fucked up and work is hard and, you know, where I live is crazy and there's a lot of crime, and I just want to go somewhere and just have a good time, you know, and God bless Zulu Nation for being this transformative hand that takes these gangs and say, look, if you want to beef and battle or something, let's put the knives down, let's put the guns down, and let's do it this way, right? And thank God that some people accepted that, you know, and so then that becomes this formative shift, and then it goes from borough to borough to borough, and then from city to city, right? And we see now, okay, people in New York live like this. I've never been to New York. I don't know nobody from New York. Sound like they're going through what I'm going through. Then you hear people in Chicago, and people in Florida, and people in L.A., and then y'all hear people from Texas. And then, you know, Nelly starts talking about St. Louis. And you start to, you know, get an idea of this world that you live in. So when the Ghetto Boys make, you know, the world is a ghetto, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Right? Because at that point, we have information about all these other cities, and we find out about that crack is there, too. We didn't know crack was, we thought that was just here, right? We thought that was, you know, and so you start really understanding how this world really, really works, right? And so we've been able to educate people about the fact that, yes, there are other people's lives who reflect yours, but then there are also people who have beaten the struggle, too. So you can play it how you want to play it.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
We were just talking about that the other day, how social media gives you a glance into other people's lives, whereas before you didn't really know what was going on across the world because you didn't leave your little area. It's the same thing with hip hop. You started learning more about everybody's lives because you started hearing like, oh, exactly what he said. Their life is just like mine.
The problem is that people can present their life in any way they want to with social media, right? And that's not really what, right? And this was really about, it was always about clarity, right? About giving people a deeper understanding and being like, yo, this is exactly what happens in my neighborhood. Like, for real. Like, I don't know if you've been here, but this is the kind of shit that happens in my neighborhood.
Hip-hop is uniquely regional like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we connect with people when we reflect through their struggles, like, yo, like, I never been there, but I had roaches in the cereal box. When Ghost makes that song, everybody cries because if it wasn't you, it was your cousin, but you knew that person. Yeah. You know? And so for somebody that had always been so flamboyant and seemed to have everything figured out, such a great writer and part of this amazing collective
you talking about Ghost?
People. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you hear his life and you be like, man, I remember being down bad like that.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? My mom's left my dad and we had to go to my auntie house, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So you get it, you know. So hip hop can be as personable as it wants to be and sometimes as it needs to be. You know, it's these shared experiences that bring us all together. You know what I'm saying? That's why the biggest hip hop song I think of all time is They Reminisce Over You.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody finds themselves in that unique position of, man, I love that. I love my boy. I love my girl. I hate this is gone, but I don't want to always cry about it. I want to remember the good things about it. And I want to remember, and then when you lose friends and you lose family, just like the beginning of the song, the first two verses is really just reflecting on family and what life is about. And that's what you do when you lose people and you really understand what death is about. You start to really deal with your own mortality. Then you start putting your life in perspective. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the best written songs ever, period.
Absolutely.
And the emotion hits every time. Every time you hear those horns, you go right back to that same place.
P-Rock, that's my favorite hip-hop sample of all time. He really nailed it with that. But CL Smooth, yeah, man, that's a great record.
And I talked to CL for the first time like a week ago, and it was very awkward because like Static was there, and he was like, yo, here's CL Smooth, and I had never talked to the brother. And I didn't really... Very underrated writer, right? Very underrated. Such a unique way of speaking, right? Never got his real credit for that, and I didn't even really know how to express that in a FaceTime video.
Right.
For the first time ever conversing with the brother. But no, he literally wrote one of the greatest songs, not just hip hop song, but one of the greatest songs
any genre
ever written, ever,
Yeah.
So my father is a professor too at TSU.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, he teaches music in Houston. But Houston has really good food, right?
Oh yeah. Houston is one of the most diverse food cities in the country.
I love
right
eating
now.
in Houston.
I've never been, but when I visit, what are like the 5 places I need to go?
Well, so there's a lot of different food in Houston that's specific to Houston. Barbecue is a big thing in Houston, so you're definitely gonna want to go to like Burns Original Barbecue. That's like black barbecue.
Okay.
Right, and then there's
Burns.
Right.
Burns.
That's like real hood.
Right.
Barbecue.
Smells up the whole street.
Right.
I mean, what else?
For
you gonna eat
seafood,
besides that?
seafood, like most people are gonna go to Papados. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Papados my
gonna do
favorite.
Cajun Creole kind of food.
Sauteed crab fingers.
Oh.
Queenie likes those.
That's the one. That's the meal right
They
there.
got the lobster egg roll, lobster shrimp
That's good
like
too.
egg roll move now.
But not every Papados got the sauteed crab fingers, and I'm upset with that, man.
That's a regional thing.
Yeah, man.
So because it's got to be closer to the coast.
Because Papados in Atlanta and Ohio, but only the Texas one got them crab fingers sauteed.
Yeah, because otherwise they're gonna be frozen, and you want that fresh.
Yeah.
You definitely want that fresh.
From the Gulf.
Fried chicken. I would say go to Frenchie's. There's the new Frenchie's in Third Ward. There was one so the location was there for many, many years, probably 30 years. And then they kind of bought the block because they're redoing that whole, obviously they're gentrifying another hood in America. And so they moved them across the street, but it's a brand new building. So if you come to Houston, you should definitely go to Frenchie's. Mexican foods, you're going to want to go to the original Nifa's on Navigation, right? That's kind of where, I want to say is that where the fajita was born, I want to say?
Oh, I love fajitas.
So fajita's an American thing.
Yeah, for me, fajita's a Tex-Mex thing.
Okay, Tex-Mex, right.
I'd rather have American Mexican food than
what is
official
American Mexican food?
Like
That's
Taco Bell.
Tex-Mex?
I need
Did you
cheese
just say
on my
Taco Bell?
tacos. I'm sorry.
Did you just do a Taco Bell commercial
You
on
just-
my,
You
on
just-
my
Not
show?
I feel like
said
you
it
just
again.
alienated every Mexican listener and viewer of this podcast talking
I'm about to
about
strike that
American.
from the record, sir.
I can't help. I eat what I eat.
What is American Mexican food? That's like I almost some Italian Japanese food. Like I don't even know what
Out
that
here,
means.
you go to the food trucks and they have just the meat, cilantro, and onion, and I'm like, where's the lettuce, the tomatoes, and everything?
That's a
else, the
traditional
cheese?
Mexican street taco.
Oh,
That's Mexican.
Yeah, that's
yes,
Mexican.
that's what I want,
That's not
the American
American.
one that has all the extra stuff in it.
You want Taco Bell.
You want Taco Bell.
So you're gonna get all the cheese and the onions and everything, but I don't know if you're getting meat. That's the problem.
I know, but you don't what you don't know doesn't kill you.
This weed is crazy, by the way.
It is. Yeah, LA, man.
It's good to have proximity. Like I said, proximity is
Proximity.
key. Proximity is key.
Tell me about your proximity to Chad.
It was very close. Probably my first like long-term friendship, right? Because I had older brothers, but two of them, I had 3 older brothers. 2 of them went in and out of jail, and the other one had a bunch of kids at a young age, so he was constantly working to take care of his kids. And you're in a group, right? So you know that there's only certain things that you and your counterpart really understand. There's things that you guys went through together, And as you get older in life, there's only certain people you can go to about certain situations. Only certain people really understand on a very base level what it is. Because it's not really easy being a public figure. I won't even say an entertainer or whatever. It's not easy being a public figure. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a lot of complexities that go into how you have to present yourself to the world and then kind of come back down to earth, you know what I'm saying, at any given time. You got to rise up to the clouds and be whoever it is that they believe you could be, and then go right back to who it is that you know and the people around you know that you are. And sometimes that could be a conflict of interest. And, he and I, there were times where I didn't want to do this shit anymore. And he would have to, reassure me about this shit that there's a higher purpose. And vice versa. There were times he didn't want to do this shit anymore. And I had to tell him, this thing is actually bigger than us now. UGK is not just a group. It's a movement. Like, people are living through us, you know what I'm saying? And we have to, the victories that we achieve mean a lot to a lot of people. And that was something that he held very, very close to his chest, because nobody loved UGK more than he did. And that's, and that was really the heart and soul of the group and the movement. And it was amazing to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? I've written a lot of rhymes. I've done a lot of songs. But there's a distinct difference if you listen to the songs where Pimp and I are rapping together.
Right.
There's a whole other level of lyricism that I go to, because there was no one else I was more comfortable engaging with in the process than him. And that was something that we shared for many years. And once we figured out, how to make it work, and that you could do it blindfolded at that point. And we had so much fun. We never argued about music. We never argued about lyrics. We never stepped on each other's toes. It was beautiful because we were the perfect yin and yang, right? We didn't have the same kind of friends. We didn't like the same kind of women. We didn't wear the same kind of clothes, cars, none of that. So we never bumped heads on anything. We were very individual, and never felt like we needed to wear matching jackets or shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, people really love you because you're you. They love me for me, and we don't need to mess with none of that, right? Just keep being you. Sometimes I agree with it, sometimes I don't, but I'm never gonna get in the way. If that's how you feel, I'm with you 100%.
Ain't that the secret of making good music?
It really is. You gotta just give over to the process, right? And to the other people, right? And allow them to go as free and as far as they fucking feel, right? Because it may not hit the right note with you, but as you travel through the world, you realize that they're actually hitting other people, right? Because that's not maybe the message that you're meant to get from them. That's not maybe the wave that you're meant to connect with them. But that person is special, right? And it's sometimes you can get in a group. You can be like, I remember with Pimp, I would be like, he gave Having Things to Big Mike, right? It was a beat that he gave to Big. It was the first beat that he had gave like to another rapper that I wasn't there when he gave him the beat. And I was like, what the fuck did you get that man that beat, man? That is a badass song, right? I'm like, he was like, man, because I want that man to win. I want to give that man the best I got. I was like, man, but that shit would have been so good.
That's a great song.
He was like, man, I'm telling you, man, that's what Mike needed. Mike asked me for something jamming. I gave him what he needed. I can make this shit all day, man. Don't worry about that beat.
Right. And
I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. But next time, just let me know ahead of time before you give somebody a beat. Because I was like, I knew he was special. I knew what he was doing was special. Every time he did it, it was special. And I kind of wanted it. I was very comfortable having that all to myself. I was the only person rapping the Pimp C beats for a long time. Then once other people started to recognize the genius and come and get beats, I'm like, hold up, that was my thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But I don't think people understand really how ill he was with the beats, especially really people in hip hop.
Because people didn't know that, right? People didn't know that Pimp produced a lot of the UGK records. You know what I'm saying? 90% of something that you heard me and Pimp rapping on was produced by Pimp.
Right, and he's not just making beats; he's playing instruments.
No, man, we had a B3 and a Leslie. We had like a whole band in the house. We had a B3 and a Leslie, and Hammond in the living room with a bass player and a guitar player, and he's playing the drums live on the drum machine, and we're just jam sessions. You know what I'm saying? In the same house we selling weed out of. It's
Right.
very, very crazy. But he was, I mean, even Riding Dirty, right? Like the title song, I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. The title song on Riding Dirty was West Montgomery, right? So he's pulling from very, very deep, distinct places musically, but sonically being very true to the sound that he's trying to create.
He
right?
flipped that sample.
I was like, and I remember hearing the record. I remember there was this time where he was
I love that
going
West
through,
Montgomery record. Like he
through
flipped
jazz.
it.
That's where the jazz era is where like It's Supposed to Bubble and different songs like that kind of come into play in our soundscape, and it was just amazing to be like, how could he take that, which is nothing like that, and now it's for to be like that, and we finna talk about this shit
Right.
on this record.
Right.
This finna be crazy. People finna lose their minds, but he was always ahead of the game. There's a lot of singing, right? Like kind of what Drake and Future and what a lot of guys are doing
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
There's a lot of that in Pimp C.
Yeah.
His influence
His hook's crazy.
continues to live on right here, man. I was very, very blessed to have had him as a partner in this music game.
I've heard him described as the Tupac of the South.
I believe that. I think if you look at Biggie as being this Greek tragic figure, right, for the East Coast, and Pac being that for the West Coast, then you almost have to look at Pimp C
right.
as that for the South. You know what I'm saying? Biggie's in his prime when he
Right.
dies. Tupac's in his prime when he dies. We have the #1 album in the country, Grammy nominations
Right.
and everything when Pimp dies, right?
Right.
So, like I say, it's these Greek tragic moments where people rise to such great heights, and then to see. That was always the crazy thing about Pimp. For maybe 2-3 years, a lot of us still spoke of him in the present term because you couldn't really wrap your
That's
mind
exactly
around the
right.
fact of someone who was so alive wasn't alive anymore, right? And he was always, his opinion and his thoughts on things were always kind of taken into consideration,
He was
without even
considered
really
like
thinking
a
of it.
moral compass.
He was, and he had
Which is interesting because he's pimp. He's talking about pimp shit,
Right.
pimp and gangster shit. But people looking at him as like, what would Pimp C do?
Well, I mean, there were moments, and this is very funny that you say that, because there would be moments where we would talk to Pimp about something, and he would look at the picture of Tupac on the wall. And he made a lot of decisions based on what he thought Pac would do
Right.
in a situation, right? So his moral compass is very genuine because of who he's looking to
Right.
for inspiration.
That's the line.
Right? And he used to always mess with my kids because in the videos, he would always be on his phone in the video.
Right.
And my kids was like, Uncle Pimp, who you talking to? And he's like, I'm talking to Screw. But Screw had already passed away, right? He's like, I'm talking to Screw. My kids were just, and they had to just back up for a minute, right? Because they didn't understand that. And they like, and as my son got old, my son was like, man, I'll never forget when that man said that. He was like, that's what I do. He said, I take pictures in my phone now. He's like, who you on the phone? I'm talking to my Uncle Pimp.
Talking to Pimp.
You know what I'm saying? That kind of a thing, man. It's beautiful.
You talked to me once about how Pimp C. So on a national level, obviously, Big Pimpin' was a huge record,
Oh, of course.
and it
That's
was
what I knew about UGK.
yeah, that record introduced the world to UGK on a lot of levels.
Right.
Jay-Z is funny that you tell that Biggie story. I never heard that Biggie story, but it makes sense because Big, not from Houston, but I rap a lot. Like Big was
Absolutely.
very in tune with. He was a hip hop fan.
Oh, you don't get that good without loving it.
He loved it.
Right.
So he's the type of dude like. At that age in my life, I'm reading the Source magazine. I'm reading every advertisement. I'm not just reading the articles. I'm reading the ads. I'm reading the, you know what I'm saying? I know the whole magazine inside and out. Jay-Z was paying attention on that level.
Absolutely.
And so he reached out to y'all. But
Well, Clark put him on. Clark says he put him on.
Clark Kent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Which
Shout
doesn't
out to
surprise
Clark Kent.
me. Which doesn't surprise
Yeah, Clark
me.
knows what the fuck he's talking about at all times. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? He's one of my favorite people.
And that's where Chaka Zulu comes in again, because Hov
Shaka
reaches out
Zulu
to Chaka
again.
Zulu.
Okay.
That's where he gets the numbers from.
Okay. So, excuse me. I heard that Pimp C maybe wasn't feeling that record.
No, he wasn't. He made it very clear. Like
Okay.
he did not want to
So
rap
wasn't
on
no
that record.
maybes.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. So he was actually supposed to be on just a week ago, right? When Jay-Z and Too Short, he's supposed to be on that record before, but Pimp had just bought a brand new house. He just put a full studio in, so he told Jay-Z, "Yo, come to the crib and we'll do the record. Fly down to Atlanta, hang out, we'll do the record. Jay was like, this was in the middle of the East Coast West Coast beef, and Jay was like, yo, I'm not leaving New York right now.
Right.
And this is also before Pro Tools and flying beats back and forth. So if you wanted someone in your album, they either had to come to physically where you were and record on your reels, or you had to send reels across the country, like on Delta Dash or something like that, right? Because FedEx and UPS wasn't really
sending reels on Delta Dash.
It wasn't popping like that. You have to really have been in the music industry to really understand what I'm talking about. This is how this stuff got done. Now it's just an email, right? Or even a text. You can get a 2-track instrumental from a text right now.
Yeah, my daughter be doing that. She just walked in.
But they were like, they weren't. Neither one of them wanted to leave, so that record never got done. And then it came back around, and we ended up doing the Big Pimpin record. But he was just very concerned because at this point, he had gotten his music right to where he wanted it. Right, he had a very clear idea of how he wanted to be received, and he felt like we achieved that with Riding Dirty. And this was so far removed from what we were doing, not just sonically but thematically. This whole idea, it was just very different. And he was like, I'm not opposed to doing a record with the man. I wanted to do the last record with the man. But why it got to be this record? You know what I'm saying? And the other thing is, he's a producer. He's like, yo, if you want to do a record with UGK, let me do a UGK record. Yeah, come do a UGK record. But, I was like, look, this is a really great opportunity. And I think we'd be crazy to not do this record with this man. It's some real bread on the table for one. And I think this is going to open us up to a whole new audience. People get to see who we are, what we do. Yeah, but this what they going to see. Right. They not going to see us the way we do us. They going to see us like this. I don't want people to get it twisted. He had a very good argument.
Visionary.
No, he Pimp's whole thing was, we had lots of opportunities to sign with record companies. A lot of people rap a lot. Bad Boy, No Limit, Cash Money, and all of that. And Pimp would always say, man, why go be number 4 over there, or number 5 over there, or even number 3 over there, when we number 1 right here with us. We're going to always be number 1 with us.
Right.
And again, he had a real idea of how he wanted to be received and how he wanted to really represent what life was like and the kind of real life decisions that people had to make in this world that I think people didn't really have that bird's eye view on what the drug dealer does after the drug deal is done and the money is counted and he goes to bed. Like, what are people dealing with when they go to bed at night? Because everybody go to bed at night, right? And everybody can't just sleep comfortably after they do some fucked up shit. If you've done fucked up shit, it's not that easy. You don't just shoot somebody and go home and go to sleep. Don't really work like that. So he wanted to deal with those people, to have an outlet to deal with those demons, right? And not be scared to go to God and ask for forgiveness and, praise a higher power, because we're all works in progress, right? So never lose that and never think that you can get so far away from God that you can never go back. That was really at the core of that shit. That's the life you try to live, then look, this is what it's like. If you finna go out here and sell dope, people will try to rob you. People will try to kill you. Not everybody wants to pay for dope. Right? Some people want to get dope in other ways, and you got to be prepared for that. Right. And if you're going to do it like this, because when you do it wrong, you kind of fuck up the whole system, and that's how people really get killed, and that's what really fucks up everything and bring the police around, and that's when crime becomes unorganized, right? All these different kind of scenarios that people around him that he knew growing up were really dealing with, and so he wanted to have like a musical outlet for people to go ahead, and think about it. So yeah, we would do records about partying and all this other crazy shit, but then also not be scared to confront the elephant in the room. Like, what does, because most of us in the South, we're growing up in the church. We're growing up in Baptist churches, Methodist churches, that kind of a thing. But we really believe in God, right? But sometimes we can get detached from it, and you can use fucked up preachers and prosperity pastors or whatever to make an excuse for not going to church, but that doesn't excuse you not from connecting with a higher power, right? So at some point you still gotta talk to somebody about all this heavy shit that you're going through, which happens at night.
Right. You just had a situation that could have been very traumatic.
It was traumatic.
My wife was traumatic.
Yeah, my wife is still very traumatized by it.
Yeah, man. when I spoke to you about this home invasion,
Right.
and I spoke to you, how long had it happened after when I spoke to you?
Probably was the second day after.
Second day after. You said to me that you were so glad that you did not kill this man.
Yeah.
And you said that because you were essentially saying to me, you were talking about your spirit.
Yeah.
You were talking about your karma.
Because in the moment, I was really trying to kill this man, right? Because of the thing I'll never forget is hearing my wife's voice and like this deep fear in her voice. And I just really I've never felt more violated in my life. Not because of what's been done to me, because I've had guns in my face. I've had crazy shit happen to me before. But to think that you could do this to my wife, right? And again, he didn't know she was my wife in the moment. This was a random attack. But still, I know this is my wife.
Yeah.
And I also know that certain men freeze in these moments, right? And I reassure after the attack, I told her, I was like, I don't know if you know, but every night I go through this scenario. Every day I think about if somebody comes in this house to fuck with us, I will do what I need to do.
Absolutely.
You will be safe. I don't know if things you see me because I watch a lot of The Office and West Wing and shit like that, and I go see all the Marvel movies. I don't know. And, my wife see me, get into scuffles, but no gunplay. She hasn't been privy to any of that since we've been married. And so, but I never want her to get it twisted. Like, I will protect you. You know what I'm saying? I will. And my thing was, the violation comes in because she never answers the door, right? I never let my wife answer the door because if there's a threat coming, the threat has to see me first, right? And I'm always prepared. I'm ready to address the threat in the moment, no problem. But that's the thing that I can't get back from that moment is the fact that in the moment, she had to address the threat and she had to do what I'm willing to do, which is put her life ahead of mine. Her whole thing is in the moment, she thinks this guy has come to get me.
Okay.
She doesn't know it's random when it's happening. So she thinks this guy is coming to get me. So her thing is, I don't have a gun, but I know Bun can get to the gun. So I have to do whatever I need to do to stop him from going upstairs before Bun gets to the gun. So if he kills me, that's fine. I know Bun is going to kill him. That's what's in her mind.
Right.
She shouldn't have had
She should not have had to think.
She
deal
should
with
not
that
have
at
had
all.
to deal with that, and that's the trauma, and that we have to work on with her. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I want her to do is to get right. From this moment, because no person, but specifically no woman, should have to go through this. If I hadn't been there, I don't know if he would have tried to take advantage
You
of
said
her.
you was in the basement.
Well, we lived in the 3-story spot, so she was on the first floor and I was on the second, but the gun was on the third, so I had to get up to the third and get the gun and get back down to the first floor. And when I started coming around the corner of the second floor to go to the first floor, I couldn't hear her anymore, and I didn't know what had happened. And so I made sure that there was a bullet in the chamber, and she was right there, kind of like cowering near the door. She was begging me not to go outside, but this is the primary responsibility I have once I take you as my wife, right? The varying levels of how I provide for you, that may happen. You may have good days and bad days and all that kind of shit. But the primary thing that I have to do as a husband is protect you. That's it, right? If I give you a nice house and a nice car and jewelry and all that shit, that varies, right? We'll figure that out. Some people are doing better, some aren't. But at the very least, I have to protect you as a man, like in this world. And so, she knows that I protect her, but I also know that she'll protect me, which she did. And so we're just working through it. It's a process. Anybody that goes, having a gun put to their head, being told I'm going to kill you if you don't do this and don't do that, and that's a lot for her to deal with.
Yeah, man. You being from Texas, guns are a lot more part of the culture
Oh man, yes.
than a lot of other places.
Well, it's allowed to be a part of the culture, right? Like we're open carry, So my lawyer said, when we did the radio interview, it was like if I had done what I did in Houston, in New York, I'd be in jail.
That's what I was thinking, because as a New Yorker, you have to make a conscious decision to sort of involve yourself in just even knowing gun laws and knowing about it. I feel like
Right.
in Texas, is more of a chance of you being raised to know what's up.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't shoot the guy when I saw him outside of the house, because I already know once he leaves my house, he's no longer the threat. And I go after him, I'm
Right.
now the threat.
How
Right.
important to you? How important do you think it is for people, especially black people, to understand gun laws and to know really not just gun laws, but just their rights dealing with the law?
I think it's very important because unfortunately we're the group of people that will often find themselves in a confrontation where a gun will come into play, right? And so if you're going to carry a gun, right, and you know that at any point, like what happened to me at my house, right, it was a random act. It
Right.
wasn't a threat that was coming directly for me, but the threat found me, right? So I believe in karma. I believe in positive energy and all of that stuff. But again, this wasn't somebody saying, I'm coming to hurt Bun. This was a random person trying to do whatever they could do in the moment. And so you have to be prepared to protect yourself, but then also be very smart. I remember when I talked to my mom about it, I called my mom and said, Mama, sit down. I got to tell you something.
Right.
I say, first off, I'm okay. We all right. Everybody's good. Somebody tried to rob us today, and I shot him. She was like, where did it happen? I said, it happened at the house. You shot him in the house? I said, yeah.
Immediately,
Okay. So
Yeah.
you didn't shoot him like outside? No. I said, no, he was in the house, in the car. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're probably not going to go to jail for that. She's like, but y'all all right, though.
That's some
you know?
Texas shit right there.
You know, so even my mother, who has never had to shoot a gun, God, I hope
she
she never
knows, she
has
had the
to.
knowledge.
But she already knows. Like, my brothers, unfortunately, were not the best kids growing up. Got into a lot of stuff. So unfortunately, my mom is very, very familiar with the penal system and the laws that apply. So
Right.
once she knew I wasn't harmed, she just wanted to know if I was in the right or not.
Right.
So she raised me right.
Oh, yeah, she did. Yes, she did. What are your feelings on the NRA?
I don't think that you need to be a card-carrying member of the NRA to want to own a gun to protect yourself, right? I feel like there are a lot of things that the NRA stand for that I don't necessarily stand for. I feel like at times they do try to manipulate and pervert that particular amendment. But that being said, I've always had protection for my family. I don't need an amendment to tell me
Right.
what I need to do to protect
Right.
my family. I've always, understood the environment and the element out there, and you have to be prepared for these things because at some point something's gonna happen if you're black. At some point, I'm sorry, it's a very unfortunate thing, and I know some people out here have no frame of reference for what I'm talking about. But as a black man, you anticipate, right? There being a wrongful confrontation. We walk past brothers in the street. If you don't get that head nod, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. That official black man.
Right?
hand
If you don't get that, that's just to let you know I'm not a threat. I'm
Right.
not me either.
That's
brother.
interesting too, because I, as a black man, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I never framed it like that. Lets you know I'm not a threat.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
That's
what that
what it
lets
is.
you
That's
know,
exactly
right?
what it is.
It means I'm not. I don't have any problem acknowledging you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not finna dap you up and all of that, but you're not a threat. I'm not a threat. That's really what that's saying. It's like, what's
Yeah.
up? That's what's up. Okay, well he not finna try nothing.
Right.
And I'm not finna try nothing. So we both good.
That's
right here.
interesting.
And it's very comforting.
Wow.
It's very comforting. And there's those very small gestures in the moment, one-on-one or in group settings, where black people can acknowledge that, it ain't me either,
Right.
brother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kind of a thing. You
That's
know?
beautiful, man. I want to thank you right now, give you your flowers while you're here, especially for having me on that last UGK album.
Oh man.
That's one of the milestones of my career, to be on that UGK album with you and Pimp C. And I mean, even, and Pimp's verse on Country Cousins, he raps about you introducing him to Black Star. So you're
Which is a true story.
I know.
And I'm gonna tell you this: he didn't receive everything the same way.
Right.
Right. There were a lot of people. I was like, "Yo, Pimp, man, you need to listen. To this.
Right.
Man, get this shit out of my car." But he was receptive.
That
man.
monkey shit.
Yeah, he was receptive. But he
Shout out
ended
to
up
Corey
being-
Moe too. I meant to shout out Corey Moe because that's the homie, and I put out music with him. And
Of
I met
course.
him. I met him through Dave Dar, but
Really?
I met him through my engineer Dave Dar. Who's shout out to Dave Dar. But I got to know him through y'all.
Well, you've always been a very genuine person with me, right?
thank you.
And you're one of the more dependable people in my life, right? So if I have a something that I need done, but it's very, I need it because I don't call you for just anything, right? When I call you for a record, it's a very specific theme that we're talking about, and I feel that you can bring over the emotional. God, it's very hard to talk about what you do, right? It is. No, it is, right? Because you're a student of structure, right? You're a very disciplined writer. You know that there's a space that you exist in. There's a flow that you own, right? That's your very own. And so it's really all about how deep do I need to get into this subject? Is this surface or do I need to get deeper on this, right? So it's always interesting to see where you tend to go because you're very informed about a lot of things. So again, we can do this on a very surface level, or if you think the people, like I would imagine that you have to do songs with people and be like, okay, am I going to be over his bass's head in this moment? Or do they need to hear this, right? It's a very unique position that I imagine you find yourself in because you're very open to working with everybody, and you have worked all over the genre. And so, but again, you're very, very informed. So if I tell you, look, we're going to do a song about all wives, you know what I'm saying? We're going to do songs about the women in our life right now.
Which is what you told me.
Right? And you know how I feel about one woman, so you know I'm going to go there. So it allows you to be able to, I can go all the way in. I can say all the good and the bad things and the crazy things that make love beautiful.
That's one of my favorite records.
And it's because you're allowed a freedom on that record. And I am too, because sometimes I find myself in a position, like I did a couple of songs with people and I'm like, it's a good record, but I shouldn't have put them on that record because I shouldn't have asked them to go there because that's not really where they go, right? I like to challenge myself and I like to challenge the people that I work with, but everybody don't have to go there. Some people don't want that out of this, right?
Right.
Some people just want to do what they do and keep it moving.
Man, like that Real Woman record, what's challenging to me is I remember you telling me that in order to clear the sample, we couldn't curse on the record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
It was beautiful. It made me write different.
Yeah, of course. It always does. Lil Wayne, I remember watching his evolution. And for many years, he was doing very gangster, hardcore music. But he couldn't curse. His mother wouldn't allow him to curse for many years.
Right.
So on those first, if you go back and listen to those first Hot Boy albums, they're very gangster in tone, very aggressive in nature, but very PG.
Right.
Right. And that's what I told Babe. I said, this kid's going to be I said, do you realize that there's a whole other level of vocabulary that he's not even accessing now, but emotionally he can get across everything he needs to say. Wait until he gets to open the whole book and say everything like he wants to say. This kid's going to be a problem.
Right, man. Right, man.
That's what's beautiful about this thing that we do is that you can go as far as you want to go if you want to go there. I remember, Clark Kent saying, in the sneaker game, he was like, B, you ready to go there? I was like, I go there. I got some pairs. I got some things like that. He was like, yeah, but it's a whole other side to this. Are you ready to go there?
Right.
And I had to think about that. I remember writing for Puff during the press play. I think you were doing those sessions too in Miami. And I remember I wrote a song for Puff, and I was like, yo, I got the record. It's hot. He never got up out of the chair. He was like, is it though? And I was like, yeah, no, it's hot. And I'm like, it's a crazy record.
Right.
Is it though? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and listen to it again. Right? And I'm like, you know what? You gotta walk in the room with confidence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
man. You gotta be ready to go there. And the next record, I was like,
Puff.
Come on and do this. But that's I'll never forget that.
Word up.
I'm better for that.
Word up.
And I'm better for knowing you too, Kweli.
I'm so appreciative that I have a relationship with you.
Likewise.
It's really influenced and inspired my career. And the same for you. Whenever I call you, you right there. You know what I'm saying? And that's rare in this business.
Well, we'll have friends, we'll have associates, but we'll have very few contemporaries. And that's what I feel like you are. Like you're an actual peer. Like I feel like you perform on the same level that I perform on in terms of effort. Right? We don't always get what we're trying to do.
That's a huge compliment, brother.
But I feel like you try to give and that's in life, not just in music. You know what I'm saying? That's why I stay close to you, because I feel like our paths are always going to be reflective, and you're going to go through this, I'm going to call you. I'm going to go through this, you're going to call me, but we're always going to be there, man.
No doubt.
It's good to have a friend like you, brother.
You too, brother. Bun B, ladies and gentlemen. People's Party. That's how we doing it.